Hello, welcome to another IELTS writing video. Today we're looking at the topics of cohesion and coherence and how we can use these to maximize our writing skills. If you find this lesson helpful, I encourage you to visit my blog at IELTS.com. We will begin today's lesson by defining cohesion and coherence. Cohesion is basically the manner in which ideas in writing connect together. Coherence is a measure of the reader's ability to clearly understand what has been written by the writer. I have defined these here to allow you to take some notes. Cohesion refers to the ability a piece of writing has to link ideas together in a logical manner. Proper cohesion makes it easy for a reader to understand the argument and logical progression of the writer's position. So cohesion helps the reader understand how the writer's ideas are connected and how the writer is logically structuring their argument. Coherence is the ability of a writer's writing to retain meaning and be composed in a manner that is understandable. Keyword. Writing that is grammatically flawed or presents irrelevant ideas lacks coherence. Writing with cohesion and coherence is a skill that can greatly improve the quality of your composition. Now, to help illustrate how to use cohesion and coherence in your writing, I have included a few examples. In the following example, we are looking at a paragraph that lacks cohesion. Notice how the sentences are grammatically correct and easy to understand, yet do not link to one another in any apparent way. So what you will see in this next example paragraph is a paragraph that has some coherence, but is lacking in cohesion. So the ideas are there, they're somewhat clear, but they're not very well linked together. And when we read it, it's difficult for us to follow the logic of the writer. Here we go. Modern lifestyles do not cater to human health. People who get less than 6 hours of sleep per night often miss 2 more workdays per year due to illness than the average worker. Sleep is an important precursor to health. Modern lifestyles dictate people sleep less. Modern lifestyles are increasingly becoming a hindrance to health. Now, there may be a few new words in there. Precursor. Precursor is something that is the cause of something else. So here we have sleep as an important precursor to health. So if you get enough sleep, this will cause you to have good health. Down here we have the word hindrance. Hindrance is something that is damaging or something that causes another thing to decline in level of quality. Modern lifestyles are increasingly becoming a hindrance to human health. What we see in this example is a supporting paragraph in an essay. Now, what you probably noticed was that the argument has to do with modern lifestyles, and it appears to be connecting modern lifestyles to a decline in overall human health. Now, to prove that this is true, this paragraph presents the example, which is a lack of sleep. If you look up here, we see this example. People who get less than 6 hours of sleep often miss 2 more work days per year due to illness than the average worker. So the writer is using this point to prove that modern lifestyles are not good for human beings. The problem here is that the sentences don't connect together. It's difficult to see that logical conclusion. What this paragraph needs is cohesion. When we read this first sentence, this topic sentence, modern lifestyles do not cater to human health, people who get less than 6 hours of sleep per night, blah, blah, blah. These two sentences do not share a connection. It sounds like we're talking about two totally different topics. We need to show our reader how our ideas connect together and how they prove the overall argument of our paragraph and ultimately our essay. So now I would like to work with you together, and let's inject some cohesion into this paragraph. Now, assuming this is the first of our 2 or 3 supporting paragraphs, you may wish to write a phrase like "firstly." Now, some people might think, well, that's, everybody writes "firstly," but it makes a big difference. It connects, it shows us that this is not the first paragraph in our essay. This is connected to an idea that was presented before it. And when the reader reads this, they will feel that connection. Firstly, modern lifestyles do not cater to human health. Now, we want to show that this is an example that connects to this topic sentence. And the easiest way to do that is just to clearly state that it is an example. For example, comma, people who get less than 6 hours of sleep. So now here, when the reader reads this, for example, they know that this is a sentence that is connected to the sentence before it. This is an example of how modern lifestyles do not cater to human health. So now these two sentences have some cohesion together. Okay, so we give our example. For example, people who get less than 6 hours of sleep per night often miss 2 more work days per year due to illness than the average worker. Now, this example shows that if you don't get enough sleep, you're going to be sick. We make the point, sleep is an important precursor to health. But here, we need another cohesive phrase to show the link between this example and the conclusion that we're drawing. So we need something like, this makes it clear that sleep is an important precursor to health. Okay, so now when we read this sentence, we see the word "this." What is this talking about? It's talking about this entire example. This example makes it clear that sleep is an important precursor to health. Do you see now? Now the sentence is connected to the one before it. And the argument is becoming more logical and clearer to the reader. Now we come to kind of the conclusion area of this paragraph. What we're trying to do is we're trying to show that this example, which is the lack of sleep, comes as a result of a modern lifestyle. So people who are engaged in modern lifestyles typically get less sleep. Thus, we can make the conclusion that modern lifestyles are connected to a decrease in health. Now what you see here is modern lifestyles dictate people sleep less. Now this sentence is saying modern lifestyles dictate, which means kind of force people to get less sleep. Now that's a very useful sentence, but the problem is it doesn't really connect to the ideas that we've presented before it. Then we continue on and we say modern lifestyles are increasingly becoming a hindrance to human health. Okay, so two sentences, they both mention modern lifestyles, and they're both not clear in their connection to the rest of the paragraph. So we might rephrase them by connecting them to the conclusion that we've drawn regarding sleep with a word like thus. And perhaps we could say something like this: as modern lifestyles let me just take this out here. Thus, as modern lifestyles dictate people sleep less, comma, no reason to start a new sentence. The connection modern lifestyles I'm going to take this out. The connection modern lifestyles have to the damaging of human health is obvious. Okay, so now don't forget, so we had a sentence before this that said sleep, a lack of sleep is a precursor to poor health. Thus, as modern lifestyles dictate people sleep less, so here we're making the connection back to modern lifestyles force people to sleep less. Because of this, thus, the connection modern lifestyles have to the damaging of human health is obvious. So what we're showing is modern lifestyles cause people to sleep less. Whoops. If you sleep less, this causes you to be in poor health. So, logically, there is a connection between modern lifestyles and poor health. Now, one other thing I'll point out here is that we mentioned modern lifestyles twice in the same sentence, and we might want to change that to perhaps something like the connection they have to the damaging of human health is obvious. Let's read the paragraph one last time, and I think you will agree that the manner and ease with which we can see the writer's logic is now much more clear. Firstly, modern lifestyles do not cater to human health. For example, people who get less than 6 hours of sleep per night often miss 2 more workdays per year due to illness than the average worker. This makes it clear that sleep is an important precursor to health. Thus, as modern lifestyles dictate people sleep less, the connection they have to the damaging of human health is obvious. Okay. Now we're going to look at a paragraph that lacks coherence. Before we do, I would like to share with you a few ideas of mine that you might want to take note of. Often students lack coherence in their writing simply because their basic grammatical foundation is weak. Take this following example. Here we have a paragraph that makes efforts to link its sentences cohesively but lacks in basic coherence. So what you'll see in this next paragraph is that the student tried to link the ideas together, using cohesive phrases, just like the ones we just used, such as firstly, for example, this makes it clear, thus. But the basic coherence of their sentences is lacking. And it makes it very difficult to understand what the student is trying to say and what they're trying to argue. So, as we read through this paragraph, try to make a mental note of why this paragraph lacks in coherence. Why is it difficult to understand? Secondly, the lifestyle of a modern people must avoid to not eating healthy foods. For example, fast food restaurants such as McDonald's make health worse. Because of this, eating healthy food should to be the only one. Also because of this, fast food should not be eating. Okay, I'm sure that you have probably come up with a few ideas of your own why this paragraph is difficult to understand. Now, I would like to share with you 4 points. The 4 reasons why I think, the 4 main reasons why I think this paragraph lacks in coherence. Now, the first one is, of course, grammar. If you look at the paragraph, it is riddled with grammar mistakes. They are everywhere. I'm going to point out 3, but there are many more. The first one has to do with this phrase here. Avoid to not eating healthy foods. Okay, now, even in this phrase, there are multiple grammar mistakes, but the one I wanted to highlight was just the sort of double negative that they have happening in this sentence, which they're telling somebody to avoid, and then they're telling them to avoid not doing something. Of course, the easiest way to state this idea would be to simply eat healthy foods, not to avoid not to eating healthy foods. The second grammar mistake that I often see are students that use modals, such as should, would, could, may, might, ought to, shall, will, and others. And they follow it with to. Should to be. No. Anytime a native person hears someone use the phrase should to, it is very, very clear that this person does not have good command of the English language. So if you are a student that is regularly using a modal and following it with to, I would strongly suggest not doing that. The third thing comes at the very end here, where we have should not be eating. Of course, we would have to change that to the participle, which is another common mistake that students, commit. And particularly when they make efforts to write passively, which helps you to sound academic. I think it's great that they're making these efforts, but they have to remember that often, we're writing using the participle form of the verb, and you have to be careful in this area. So that's my first point, grammar. Now the second reason I feel that this paragraph lacks in coherence is relating to the example. Now what you see here is, for example, fast food restaurants such as McDonald's make health worse. Now, the first thing is that this opening sentence tells people who are living modern lifestyles that they should eat healthy food, and then the example says, it talks about, unhealthy food, And it's kind of difficult to see the connection between the two. The main reason why this example is a poor example is because the student presents McDonald's and presents their opinion about McDonald's and tries to use their opinion to prove their argument. So they write, McDonald's make health worse. Now, this is an opinion sentence. This is not a fact. This is the student's opinion about McDonald's. They feel McDonald's makes health worse. It's very difficult to prove what you are stating or what you are arguing by simply using something like your opinion. That's not a good foundation for an argument. So someone who is marking this exam marking this essay would probably say this is not good evidence for the argument. And it would be considered that the point had not been proven. So basically, to make your example strong, you have to use facts. You have to use relevant facts that prove the arguments that you're making. Okay, my third point is in reference to an illogical statement. The only one. Let's read the sentence. Because of this, eating healthy food should to be the only one. This is a mistake I also see very often. Students who make references to the one, the only one, that one. To be honest, I don't know what this person is talking about. What is one? Are they saying that healthy food is the best, or should be the only food that people eat? It's not clear. Nobody knows what they're referring to. And of course, when you read this, you know that this person has a very poor command of the English language. So if you are a student that is using phrases like the only one, please make efforts to discontinue that. So my point number three was illogical references. And this is why this paragraph lacks coherence. Point number four is structure. A paragraph that lacks structure is not coherent. There are many, many, many structures for essays. Many, many different structures. It's important that you use one. And use one that is effective in proving your point or discussing the points of others, or in completing whatever task you're given. Here, the student has concluded this paragraph with a recommendation, which is kind of bizarre, because it sounds like this is an essay that is an argument essay and is saying something along the lines of modern lifestyles are unhealthy. Do you agree or disagree? Probably something like that. And at the end of this paragraph, instead of stating clearly modern lifestyles tend to cause people to lead unhealthy or get into unhealthy life habits, instead of concluding something that connects to the argument, they have concluded with this, which is a recommendation. Also, because of this, fast food should not be eaten. So this is not an argument at all. This is a recommendation, and this is a very weak way to end a supporting paragraph in your argument essay. Okay, so structure. It's very important that you employ a strong structure to help the coherence of your writing. Now let's go back through this paragraph and improve it, sentence by sentence. So firstly, we have, secondly, the lifestyle of a modern people must avoid to not eating healthy foods. So let's change this to something like the fast-paced lifestyles of modern people tends to promote the consumption of quick foods. The consumption of quick foods that lack nourishment. Okay, let me take this right out. Okay. Secondly, the fast-paced lifestyles of modern people tend to promote the consumption of quick foods that lack nourishment. What's the problem here? Oh, nothing. Okay, so we are connecting the idea that modern lifestyles lead to poor health. Now, we have to prove this. And we do that with an example. Now, the student used an example. As we talked about, this example is an opinion. It's not really a fact. When I read this example, I thought about a movie that I saw, and perhaps you saw this movie as well. It was called Super Size Me. And what this movie did is it used facts to prove that the food that's served at McDonald's is not healthy. And if you eat McDonald's too regularly, your health will decline. Now, this is a fact. Let's use this movie as our example instead to show that that these sorts of fast food restaurants are not good lifestyle choices. So we have, for example, the acclaimed documentary Super Size Me, proved without a shadow of a doubt the risk McDonald's food poses to human health. Okay, and I'll just take out this last little bit here. Okay. For example, the acclaimed documentary Super Size Me proved without a shadow of a doubt the risk McDonald's food poses to human health. Okay, so now this is a fact. We're saying that, I mean, this movie proved that McDonald's is not a healthy lifestyle choice. Now, what we have to do is we have to connect this unhealthy food to modern lifestyles and show that, you know, maybe modern lifestyles kind of they force people to eat this kind of food, and that makes them unhealthy. So there is, you know, we're showing there's a connection. It might not be a very direct connection, but there is a connection between modern lifestyles and the health of people, or the declining health of people. Now, the last sentence the student writes, the second last sentence, sorry, because of this, eating healthy food should to be the only one. Also, because of this, fast food should not be eating. So we'll take away this opinion, or this recommendation. I'm not sure why the student decided to use that. So we want to show how this example links modern lifestyles to a decline in health. So maybe we can write something like, as many of McDonald's patrons eat there due to tight schedules, the link between modern lifestyles and degrading health is clear. Get rid of this 1 second. Okay. So from up here, as many of McDonald's patrons eat there due to tight schedules, the link between modern lifestyles and degrading health is clear. So all we're saying is that modern lifestyles have kind of dictated that people have tight schedules, which means that they have to eat something that's fast. So basically, modern lifestyles are connected to a decline in health. Now, let's read the entire paragraph one more time, and I think the heightened level of coherence will be evident. Secondly, the fast-paced lifestyles of modern people tend to promote the consumption of quick foods that lack nourishment. For example, the acclaimed documentary Supersize Me proved without a shadow of a doubt the risk McDonald's food poses to human health. As many of McDonald's patrons eat there due to tight schedules, the link between modern lifestyles and degrading health is clear. Okay, so the coherence is much higher. It's easy to understand this paragraph now, and we can clearly see the connection between our example and our argument, and between this paragraph and the overall argument of the essay. So that concludes the video regarding cohesion and coherence. I hope it was helpful. Thank you for listening.